For a while now, some gamers have been a bit worried about something called Red Shell. Hidden on their PCs, a lot of users were intrigued by this little piece of software and they wanted to know what exactly that it was. So what is Red Shell and why are some people pretty worried about it?
Red Shell is a marketing tool created by a company called Innovate, which can be used by developers to gather data on their users. Red Shell advertises itself as being able to track the performance of paid media, measure return on investment and marketing campaigns, and offers integration with dozens of ad networks. According to the website, Red Shell works by logging the digital fingerprint of gamers after they click on a link, then it logs their fingerprint when starting a game for the first time, and finally reporting the data back to the developer for analysis. But according to some people on Reddit, Red Shell might be doing something a bit more malicious. Reddit user AlexSpeed75 created a Reddit thread about Red Shell a little over a week ago. In the thread, AlexSpeed75 compares Red Shell to spyware and says there's no explicit warning about the program being installed on your system.
Other Redditors have alleged that Red Shell collects more data than the company lets on. The accusation is that Red Shell also collects information about the game, user IDs such as Steam usernames, operating systems, screen resolution, installed fonts and browsers. Redditors have also been using the thread to compile a list of games which include Red Shell in the installation. Some of the more notable games are Elder Scrolls Online, Conan Exiles, Warhammer Vermintide 2 and all the Total War games. Since the discovery of Red Shell, some developers have pledged to remove it after gamers contacted them asking for their data to be deleted, but some still haven't responded. Total War Studio Creative Assembly offered an explanation about Red Shell on the Total War subreddit. Here's what they had to say, quote, "Red Shell is a program we use to measure the effectiveness of our advertising. It's not spyware. It's a marketing attribution tool. It helps us determine which of our adverts are most effective. It does this in a similar way to other analytics tools by using cookies to generate a unique token from device information and comparing that with data taken from our marketing campaigns and game activations. In this way, we can see which adverts are more effective. While Red Shell is only used to measure the effectiveness of our advertising, we can see that players are clearly concerned about it and will be difficult for us to entirely reassure every player. So, from the next update, we will remove the implementation of Red Shell from those Total War games that use it."
People are also calling on Valve to include a warning on the game's Steam page if it includes Red Shell, like they do for games containing third-party DRM like Denuvo, for example. People also pointed out Red Shell could be in direct violation of Europe's General Data Protection Regulation because it doesn't ask people if they want to opt in or opt out of the program. It's worth mentioning that the Red Shell program itself is GDPR compliant, but developers' implementation of it might not be. At the time of recording, Redditors are still digging through game files to see if they contain Red Shell, and they are constantly updating the thread with new findings. Since the outcry, Red Shell have updated their website to include an FAQ about the service. In the FAQ, Red Shell says they aren't spyware and they don't track personal information, only information about your device and what links you've clicked on. The FAQ also states if users want to opt out, they can do so by filling out a form and submitting it to the company.
So there has been quite a lot of conversation about this, and if you have a quick search, then it comes up as people calling it spyware and stuff. That's one of the threads I found about Warhammer Vermintide 2. There's some gamers saying that it's this spyware information, and it's essentially exactly that whole topic of conversation about GDPR and stuff and what data that these companies are allowed to have on you and stuff. And this is kind of a way of doing it without asking you in a way, and that's what Redditors are accusing Red Shell as a product, I guess, of doing. It's just harvesting information that they're not happy with them harvesting.
Yeah, so outside of gaming, you would have seen it in the news, the whole Facebook Cambridge Analytica thing. You know, you would have seen all the emails. You guys would have received loads and loads of emails over the past month of people saying, "Hi, do you want to opt in?" If you've been seeing those emails, that's because of this GDPR thing. So this not asking or not having an opt-in and opt-out option, it's just kind of, you're in without even realising it. It runs in the background. It tracks whether or not you've clicked on a link and then installed a game for the first time. The thing with this is that Redditors have been saying it doesn't only track whether you've clicked on a specific game, but every game you load up for the first time. So it knows your Steam ID, which some people would argue is like personal information. You might argue that it's not. And it also tracks every time you click on a game for the first time. For a lot of businesses right now, they want to avoid being anything to do with data harvesting and anything like that.
It's not a good look, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Elder Scrolls Online earlier this month were found to be using Red Shell. ZeniMax posted a huge apology saying that they'll be removing it. Total War, since this has been happening on Reddit in like 24 hours, at least 5 or 6 big developers have come back and said, right, as soon as they've been asked about it, they're removing it. Yeah. So It seems that people are making moves already. How many people didn't know about this affecting their computers and just being there? I think that's the thing that's leaving a lot of people upset about it. We just didn't know.
Yeah, it's a bit, anything like this is a little bit insidious, and it just kind of goes under the radar and people don't realise it's happening, and then that makes it, you know, more scandalous than what it's actually doing. I think the fact that it's done quietly without anyone realising what's happening. I think the Creative Assembly thing is interesting because it doesn't read like an apology and, you know, we're going to take it out, because it actually reads like they're just describing what it does and saying it's not spyware, and then right at the end going, we're going to remove it from all Total War games. So there's clearly, and maybe some companies think that it's okay, but it's just not worth the PR headache of keeping it in there. So I think it's another thing like Denuvo, where if it's in the game, then it's just seen as a weight down on that game, as a parasitic thing that's stuck itself onto that game, and games don't like that kind of thing. So it's going to be difficult for people to use it or keep ignoring it like some companies are doing.
Yeah, the fact that it's advertised on the website is like it just tracks data for your campaigns. Maybe the developers didn't know that it does all this extra stuff, if it indeed does do that, which, remember, it's just an accusation at the moment. So that's the thing, because as you can imagine Total War's marketing campaign must be in the hundreds of thousands, and they want to see what their return of investment's like. So in their head, it's like a good business decision, but they might not realise that they're getting into bed with something a little bit more insidious. It's like a Ouija board, isn't it, or something like that. One of them.
Just like probably a bit worse than a Ouija board.
Yeah, man.
Are you usually bothered by this kind of thing, or are you just not asked that people are kind of spying on what, you know, screen resolution you're using and stuff? Let us know down in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe if you happen to enjoy the video. There should be another video on your screens right now, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. Sorry there was no kind of Mario reference to the red shell thing. We'll try and do better next time. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.